You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
When you start talking about LGBTQ stuff, that's all people hear.
Yeah.
And I live at the intersections. At any given day, there's something happening to Black folks in the news, there's something happening to queer folks in the news, there's something happening to women in the news every single day. And I wanted to tell those stories. I'm showing up as who I am, and that inherently brings along all of my other identities.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Was It Chance, the podcast. Stop it. I can't.
Is this normal?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
That's the sound of our guest. No, Alan consistently does things to mess with me that you all listeners can't see.
This is why we should never be on stage together, because I'm going to make you crack.
No, we totally should be, because it'd be so much fun.
The entire time.
We need live podcasting. Maybe we can talk to our guest about live podcasting at some point. No, I think at some point we're going to have to do a compilation of me just laughing through the intro. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Was It Chance, the podcast about embracing opportunity and taking intentional risk for your creative life. I'm Heather Vickery, and I am having a good time.
And I'm Alan Seals, and Heather didn't give me a clean edit break, so we're going to hear the whole thing. All right,
that was the plan.
That was the plan. Listen in as we chat with other successful people about the risks they've taken to put themselves on a path to creative success. Heather, who do we have today? I know you are soups excited.
I am soups excited, and also she's laughing at us right now. I'm sorry,
Who wouldn't
Anna. I didn't warn you. Y'all, Anna DeShawn
How do you not warn her?
A wonderful human and a friend of mine. Use any pronouns you'd like, as long as you're respectful. But Anna is a multi-award-winning, Ambie award-winning podcast producer and host. She's also a Chicago-born social entrepreneur who builds streaming platforms and the center and celebration of BIPOC and QTPOC creatives. I love this part. Media has always been her passion, and in 2009, she turned that passion into a reality when she founded E3 Radio, an online radio station playing queer music and reporting on queer news and with an intersectional lens. If you are not already following Anna on TikTok, you are going to want to do that at the end of this interview, because that's the best queer news you can get out there. I love it. She expanded her media reach when she co-founded the Qube, a podcast production company and curated platform to discover the best in music and podcasts for creatives. I'm going to stop talking because I have so many questions. Welcome, Anna. Welcome.
Thanks. That bio is so surreal. That's me.
That's what Heather does. She's like, man, we got some cool stuff. And then, oh man, I'm going to stop talking. All right.
Yeah. There's just so much, and I just want to get to this conversation. We actually have a little bit less time than we normally do. But I mean, okay, but I have to add this. Anna, Chicago LGBTQ Hall of Fame in 2003.
Congrats.
Equality, Illinois.
Congrats.
Award just last week.
Congrats again.
I mean,
stop. So many congrats. No, I'm serious.
It's so wild.
Listen, and from podcaster to podcaster, winning awards, continuing in this field, especially through COVID when production costs are just like, my God, mad respect to everything you are doing, everything you have founded, and I cannot wait to dive into this convo, because I want to pick your brain about so many things.
Let's go, Alan. Let's go. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you, Heather, for trying to make it through that bio. I'll be trying to make it through it too. It is incredibly uncomfortable to hear. Okay, all those things are true, but it is it's I guess that's my life.
There's something really powerful about learning to hear people, to be able to receive people saying nice things about you. It's a journey.
Mm-hmm. It is. I'm on the journey.
Well, so tell me about how you two met. Like, how did that start?
Bernadette?
I thought we met before. Maybe we met at an equality event a couple years ago.
You didn't,
but I feel like Bernadette was before that.
You didn't prep the story?
It's fun. When Anna and I have known each other, I think that we met congruently, and you also met my partner Bernadette congruently. And then I was like, "Oh, you should meet Anna." She's like, "I know Anna," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, everybody knows Anna." Yeah, I mean, I had you on the Brave Files.
That's true.
2 years, year and a half ago, 2 years ago
pod.
now.
Shout out to your solo
and I met
pod.
Yeah. She's resting my solo pod, but
because then I did the LGBTQ entrepreneur cohort with the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
And that's where I met Bernadette.
That's
and I
right.
think that was pre-COVID.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That was pre-COVID.
Wow.
The thing is,
Child, I don't know. The gays out here, we just be knowing. I think that's the point of the story.
well, and in Chicago too, like it's actually a pretty small, tight-knit community of people who are also entrepreneurs and creatives. So we love each other, and Anna and I get to see each other. We got to see each other in person in Texas, of all places, at Podcast Movement last year.
Wait,
Yeah.
where are you and I? No,
Yeah, yes, Alan. Yes.
you and I were there.
You and I were there. We were roommates.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I got to see, even though Anna just really only lives about half an hour from me. Way to go to Texas.
This is what it takes.
Well, Anna,
I see so many people out of town be like, yo, I'll see you at home sometime? Maybe
Maybe
Maybe.
not. Maybe I'll see you at Pride in a couple weeks.
that part.
well, Anna, so
You'll see me. I'll be on the sidetrack float.
Okay. I'm going to be walking with equality.
Oh, okay, dope.
Yeah.
Anna, tell me where back in 2009, like what led you to found E3 Radio, and was it podcasting focused at that time? Because 2009 podcasting existed, but it wasn't anywhere close to as mainstream as it is now in 2024 as we're recording this.
I appreciate you getting us back on track, Alan. I see what your role here is. Heather and I will just be over here kikiing. 2009 November, I started E3 Radio. I had my first show. It's called the Anna DeShawn Show. Definitely sure I was talking to myself. It was a radio station. I was very clear. I was a radio host. I didn't want anything to do with podcasting. I didn't want anybody to call me a podcaster. I'm like, I just finished school. I am trained in radio, television production. Okay. I have a master's in communications. I am a broadcaster. I'm a journalist. I am on the radio. At the same time, it was online. It had an RSS feed. And
so by definition,
anything that was live was on the RSS feed, but it was never like an intentional podcast. So that's was the origins of this thing. And I wanted to tell stories. In undergrad, there were Black women who I was learning about that I had never heard of before. And it frustrated me to no end. And I wanted to change that. And by the time I got out of school, I still had the gumption. I still wanted to create something because I just felt like there was still such a need. And so that's what I did. So started with my show. I started taking on other shows, started producing other shows on E3 Radio. And now today we play queer music all day long. And now we do have an intentional podcast called Queer News, which is really great.
that's phenomenal. Well, okay, then back up to before E3 then, because you said you focused on, what was it, media production and radio production stuff.
Radio, television.
I mean,
So
let's
where
talk
did that-
about some intentional risk here, Anna. Like what led to this?
Right.
My parents, they were like, you gonna do major in what? No one has a job in that. They don't get paid for that.
Right.
But Robin Roberts, that's my person. That's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be on ESPN doing color and play-by-play announcing. She was the only Black woman on television doing it. And I wanted to be her. And so I went to school to learn how to do that. Then I decided to get a master's in it. And I don't know who does that, but I did. And ended up getting out of school and actually working in communications. And my parents were really baffled that actually happened for me. So I ended up working in online broadcasting. So all of the skills, all things I learned then just transcended into online broadcasting in the corporate space. I did that for about 12 years. And then E3 Radio was a passion project that I did on the side and on the weekends. And so many people thought I was doing it full time. And I laughed at them. I said, you think I'm doing this full time? That's hilarious. I thought to myself, like, what would it be like if I actually did it full time? What would people think then?
Alan can get
what
that.
could actually get done, And so COVID happened and I was like, I got to get out of here. And then I found out what it was like to do it full time. And it is hard.
Yes, it is.
It's very challenging.
Yeah, you two could have a whole conversation because Alan's co-founder of the Broadway Podcast Network. So you guys,
It's a mood, huh? It's a mood.
It's a mood. It's a mood where everyone's like, I'm going to be an overnight millionaire being a podcaster. And then they become a podcaster and they're not an overnight millionaire. And then your parents are like, told you so. Like, there's no job here.
And so did everybody else told you so.
Right?
I definitely miss auto pay, Talk about the little thing. Talk about the little things. I miss auto pay. Nothing. It's on auto
Direct
pay,
deposit
okay?
every other week. That's oh God. You're telling me.
When people will get checks every 2 weeks from a job, I'll be like, that's real nice. You have no idea how nice that is. Okay. It's free.
You might not
really
have
a
the
nice
flexibility in your schedule that I have, but
But let me tell you, this life comes with a lot of other things, okay?
so wait, Anna, I love that you brought up Robin Roberts because she was, this won't surprise you because I happen to know you. Literally one of my questions was, so you've admitted that you've been in love with Robin Roberts always. I think you were both thrilled and a little devastated when she got married, even though you were already happily married at the time.
True.
We're allowed to have crushes.
True.
We could have crushes.
Right. We all have crushes. No, I'm curious though about what about Robin, other than, and not that this isn't enough, other than that she's a beautiful, empowering Black woman, made you just, what inspired you so much about her? And how do you hope to maybe parlay that into the way you can inspire somebody else?
So she was just literally the only Black woman I saw doing what I wanted to do.
Oh, wow.
Like quite literally. She was the only Black woman on ESPN for a very long time. And I saw her everywhere. She was on ESPN, but then she would be doing the Olympics. And then I look up and she was doing a special. And then I look up and she was doing football. I mean, she just did everything. And you could not deny how good she was at it. You know, you just couldn't deny how good she was. And then she went on to do, you know, Good Morning America. And then her star like really started to shine. But as I learned more about her, I connected with her even more. Her family is from Mississippi. My mother's family is from Mississippi. And I'm like, man, you made it out of that? And you made it here? I can make it from Chicago. Okay. And I just saw so many parallels with her love for family, right? My love for my family and the work that she was doing. And also I love how she just minds her own business. See, I like to mind my own business too. She's like, I just want to do the work.
Quote of the hour.
I just want to do the work of what I'm called here to do, you know? And I love that about her too. So I just love the essence of who she is. I've heard she's a really kind person. I can't wait to find out myself.
Yes.
Okay?
Let's manifest a meeting between you and Robin Roberts.
I've come so close. I'm getting closer by the day.
Have her on your podcast.
I would love to have her on my podcast. There's another podcast we actually asked her to be on. So I know she is aware of a project that I'm a part of, which honestly is almost enough. It's almost enough.
Just to know you're working on something.
Just to know that there's work that she's heard of that I've done. Like that's almost enough. So yeah.
That's so cool. So then you said E3 Radio, you went full time with that back in COVID. So 2020, pretty recently, right?
Yeah, 3 years ago, 2021.
2021. And did you still have your full-time job at that point? And so
no, I quit.
So, right. That's what I mean. Like you quit. So it was your decision, your conscious decision to be like, I'm going in whole hog on this radio thing. So like, talk us through that. What happened where you were like, I like auto pay, but it doesn't do it for me anymore. I'm going to do this other thing.
Risk.
Yeah, risk. Did corporate for like 12 years and in online events, virtual events, I had done everything I could do, literally, at this job. And when COVID hit, the whole world descended upon our business. No one could do anything in person. So they descended upon virtual businesses. Business doing what we were doing, virtual broadcasting. And the work got insane, unimaginable growth. And I was working easily 15 hours a day, easy. And I was getting burnt out. I had friends trying to call me like, what you doing? I am working. I understand your life.
That's why you haven't seen Heather. You've been working.
I understand. Maybe you got laid off. I get it. Like you're bored at home. I am not. Okay. I am stressed. I'm sitting here losing my mind. Quite literally. It was very hard. And I had thought about leaving for years, off and on. There was always an excuse, a reason why I wasn't going to work this time, why I prepared, not enough savings, da-da-da-da-da. But at this point, I was like, yo, I have had enough. I made some intentional efforts to save money. What are the next moves I need to make? And I just knew it was time. I just knew it was time for me to go. It was time to make the big leap and see what I could make out of this thing.
And did you tell your parents before or after?
they know I'm kind of unhinged. So my dad, he's always concerned about my next moves. My mother is supportive. She puts her faith in God. My dad, he's just like, what are you doing? My dad's a person who, we're actually about to celebrate him retiring after 48
congrats,
years.
Dad.
Of teaching.
Wow.
So if you can teach for 48 years, you already know he likes to stay in one place and do the one thing that he loves to do. So they were supportive, my dad was supportive, but quite concerned. My mom was like, you'll be fine. But it was also this thing about I also realized like I could always get another job. I think one of the exercises that I did as I was preparing for the big leap was, what is the worst case scenario?
Yes.
What's the worst case scenario, right? Lose my house. And where would I do after that? I would move in with my parents.
Yeah.
Is that the worst thing that can happen to me in this moment? It could be worse. I'm going to be okay.
I think that's important. I actually have that question with clients all the time. Like, what is the worst thing that could happen? And is that really the worst thing that could happen? And then we compare that to, I'm guessing, the thing that you landed on, which is, well, what's the best thing that could happen?
That's right. Success, living in my zone of genius every single day, being able to do what I love every single day, right? I mean, creating a platform that has never been created before and having tens of thousands of users, we're going to do that, right? Like these dreams are still very real. So yeah, the best that can happen is like my dreams being blown out of the water. The worst thing that can happen, I can pick myself up from that. I was like, let's go.
I want to go back to that phrase, zone of genius, because I think that is genius. And I want to live in your zone of genius and create my own.
The big
That
leap.
part.
That's language
The big
straight
leap.
from the big leap.
Exactly. I freaking love that book. I listened to it. I don't know how many times. I need to listen to it again.
Yes.
Every time I feel stuck, I go back to that book and think about what it means to be in that zone every single day. That's where we need to be.
Yeah, your zone of genius over your zone of excellence even, which is your comfort zone. Yeah.
And that's where I was for 12 years, literally. I had done everything I could and accomplished everything I could at that job in various positions. And I could do that job in my sleep. No one bothered me. No one was concerned about me. It was a tech startup, so I had grown up with the people that were there. Like we literally grew up together, partied together, married together, having kids, like the whole jam. It would be what my dad considered the American dream. I was living the American dream as far as he was concerned, you know? But I was not doing what I love to do every single day. So I was not living my dream,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think I love that you said that, because so much of it is we all have our own dream. And it's really important to recognize that we're all dreaming differently and hopefully collaboratively and towards a greater good for humanity, but it's going to look different. Anna's dream looks different than Anna's dad's dream.
That's right. That's right. Very different.
Yeah.
I'm a risk taker. I'm all the things he's not. We have very interesting conversations about that.
So how did you get led to the podcasting as a service and doing production for other people, which I guess led to the awards, right? So how did you get started in the service part of it?
Well, you know, I think it stems from the corporate work to an extent and what it means to have clients and to work with people. And I do enjoy being of service. So it's very easy for me to give of myself before I give to myself. So it's very easy for me to give than it is for me to receive or to do anything for me. The production side of the work also came out of the need for the content that I was looking to create to actually exist in the world. So there is not enough content that is at the intersections of race and sexuality and telling those stories. And I felt like there's a huge need for that. And I want to create it because I also feel like if I create it, I think it's going to be good.
Yes.
So that's where that production part of the work comes in and us creating our Qube originals and our Qube original slate. And I look forward to doing more work and creating other podcasts as a part of the Qube because there are so many stories that deserve to be told that are not. And then there's stories that already exist that deserve amplification and people can't find them. And so my hope is that the Qube can be that space for people.
All right, one more quick break. Hang on a second. All right, here's the rest of the episode.
Yeah, let's talk about the Qube. I'd love to actually talk a little bit about just staying on task with the purpose of this show is like, what kind of intentional risk did you know you were taking to build it, and tell people what it is and how they can access it, all that good stuff.
For sure. So the Qube is a podcast production company, and we're also a curated platform. We're a curated platform where you can find the best Black and Brown podcasts. And so when we talk about the production side, that is where the Qube originals come in. That's when I talk about Black HIV in the South, How Did We Get Here, which is a limited series that won a couple of awards. We got Second Sunday, which is in collaboration with PRX, one of the largest nonprofit podcast production companies out here in the world, which has been wonderful. We're currently in season 2. Then we have The Head Nod, which is in collaboration with DCP Entertainment out of New York, where we talk about what it means to be Black in white spaces. And like the Lost and Found for podcast. So there's the Qube originals over here that I believe deserve to exist and need amplification. So that's part of that work. The platform, I've heard people call it lots of things when I explain it. People have called it the Black Spotify. They've called it the Black Queer Spotify. I like to say I want to be what BET was to television. Like, I want the Qube to be to podcasting what BET was to television, which is creating a space that does not exist for Black and Brown podcasters today, dedicated for them. And today there's 60 podcasts that we've curated that you can go find and discover inside of our platform. I'm hoping to find the right investment to build the app where you can access all this beautifulness from your phone. And it can be your next favorite, podcasting app that you use to discover Black and Brown pods. And it's the dream. It's the dream. And that dream comes with a lot of work. Startups are difficult. Startups are challenging. Startups never have enough money. Okay. And so I'm in the midst of updating my pitch deck again. I'm in the midst of finalizing financial projections. It's all the things. It is all the things.
How do you balance all of these roles, all of these hats? Podcaster, podcast producer, radio host, social entrepreneur, daughter, wife, sister, friend. Like, how do you balance this?
Mm-hmm.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, Heather, what? What happens is how I balance is that things ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Things ebb and flow. Right. So right now I'm spending less time on the platform side of the Qube because we're in the midst of production on our podcast. So something does have to give. Right. And then there is the work that actually I get paid for. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I know that the people listening to this are like, we want to get paid.
Exactly. So the Qube work, the platform work, I don't get paid for yet, right? This is something we're still building. We need investment. We got to get users. There's all these milestones and metrics you got to meet, all these things that need to happen with that. So when we talk about me being able to live and pay a mortgage, right? I got a wife, an expensive dog, child. There's things that have to get paid. And so that's where Queer News comes in, because it's our number one podcast, and it's where I can sell advertising. It's where I'm seen as a subject matter expert in this space, and I can build relationships to leverage to actually make a living. It also allows me opportunities to create content that I enjoy creating, which has built a following and fans that love to tap into the work. And that gives me some leverage to have partnerships like Capital Pride, DC, and have these opportunities to continue to grow our platforms, because media is hard.
Yeah.
If I'm selling cool t-shirts, that's a tangible product. I can go out here, give me 20, tell them at $20 a pop, bam, Media is a different game. Media is about people. Media is about listeners. Media is about downloads. Media is about reach. And you got to have one, you got to have one to have the other. You can't have no reach and expect to have a lot of money. That is not how this works.
I think, Alan, are you feeling seen, Alan?
I'm feeling so freaking seen right now with the struggle of as many podcasts as I've got on the network, the struggle of taking investment, getting paid, and getting reach. You almost can't have all three.
You cannot have all three. It is very hard. It is very hard. So when it comes to balance, for me, it is what can I prioritize? What needs to be prioritized in this season? And quarter to quarter, that changes. And I really, this is my third year in entrepreneurship. And this is the year where I sat back and I was like, I've been doing this. I can really do this. It sunk into me this year at the beginning of the year. Like, you can do this. You are doing it. And so I've like really broken away from some of the old corporate habits of what they deem success to be. And I feel like I've finally been able to feel like what success means for me this year and be able to find a balance with all those things that you say I do, which I believe I do.
You do.
But while also prioritizing things that I need, which are rest.
Yes.
Like there was a time where I did not rest. I really didn't. I did not sleep very much, but that is not something that I am choosing to do anymore. So what does that look like? And also, when do I work my best? When I'm doing production work, it's nothing conventional about this. There might be a random Wednesday that I decide to sleep. Yes. I'm not doing anything on this random Wednesday because I know I'm also going to work on Saturday this week, And so with the freedom, you have to learn how to manage freedom. What does it mean to manage this time I have? That's where the discipline comes in that you need for this to be successful. And I don't know if we talk enough about discipline in this work, but you need so much discipline in this work.
And so much grace for yourself.
I don't give myself enough of that.
What does discipline mean to you, though? Like, when you're talking about discipline, for me, it's not going to bed until 3 a.m. every night.
Which is not viable for most of us. Jesus.
For me, it is, like right now we're in the midst of production for Second Sunday. And so I work best when it's dark outside. So I know that if it's on me to produce this episode, I've got to go through 2 hours of tape that needs to be a 28-minute episode. I am most likely, I'm at my best at 5 a.m. So I'm going to bed early so I can get up and get that work done so I can meet the deadlines that everybody else on the team is depending on me to meet. So for me, that is discipline.
I love
is
that.
knowing myself enough to understand what I need to do to be successful and for this project to be successful. And so I adjust my life accordingly to that.
So that to me is the 3 a.m. bedtimes, because I am not a morning person by any stretch. But of course, for my kids, I have to get up and get up early and get them on the bus to school. But I struggle with this too, and I'm curious how others like yourself do it. Between balancing, the buck stops with you, right? So you own everything. You're the sole person. You can't burn out. You have to find the time to find the time, right?
Yeah, I intentionally make the time now. So I don't take any meetings on Mondays. So Mondays has become the day that I block out for myself. I claim to do sales work. Now, child, I can't tell you how many times I've actually done sales work on a Monday yet, but that's what it says on my calendar is that Monday is for sales.
But it doesn't matter. You do what you need to do to get done what you need to get done, period.
Uninterrupted.
Yeah.
Yes. Uninterrupted. And so Mondays have become my day because it's also the day that I drop the Queer News podcast, which is something I produce, I host, I do everything for it. I have an editor. And then he sent me back the file for me to do everything.
And so you're doing the research, you're doing all of it.
I'm doing all of it. Right. So Mondays are the day I drop it. And then I get an opportunity to breathe and rest a bit. And it gives me a chance to sort of regroup, check my emails, right? Or just rest. So Mondays have become the day that no one gets on a Monday unless it is a sales thing.
Yeah.
Or it's a thing that absolutely is a non-negotiable and I got to take this call.
Yep. Mondays are the same for me. Do you have a day, Alan, where you are like, no calls? I'm just going to get my shit done.
Sunday.
But
Saturday.
You're not working. You're spending time with your family.
Yeah. I mean, so that's why I work at night because my wife goes to bed at a normal time. I'll say normal. Not 3 a.m. And the kids are in bed by 9. And then like the emails slow down. I won't say stop, but because I'm in Broadway, everybody works at night. So the emails slow down. The meetings go away because I'm taking meetings all damn day. And then, my nighttime is like...
meetings lead to more work. See, and that's another reason I had to stop. because I left meetings with next steps. And those next steps were never in my to-do list when I woke up that morning. Okay. Those, and and actually what I do now is if there's a next step that I can handle on a call with somebody, I do it right then. Like we just finished talking. It's great talking. And let's do this other work. You say, what we going to do? I'm going to send this to you right now.
We did that when we had our catch up call the last week or the week before, whenever that was. And you were like, I said, well, send me your bio and headshot. She was like, let me just take care of this.
Yeah.
I said, excellent. I love it.
Yeah, because my email is a disaster. Email can be a dark place. Okay. There's like lots of things happening in there. And I'm a zero inboxer, which means it gives me lots of anxiety.
Same.
Okay. I need a zero inbox at all time. And I have like 5 or 6 inboxes. So let's just talk about that. It's my Virgo-ness. We're going to work through it.
Wow.
But I have to get things done when I'm in the moment. And it's usually for the best.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about discipline. Like when you learn yourself, you understand what you need to do in order to be able to get the work done efficiently so that I can't sleep. Because I'm the opposite, Alan, right? I'm a morning person, but I understand it's the same principles. I need quiet. I don't want to be interrupted. And when I'm doing production work, that's what I need because I want to focus on the story.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be present with the story and the voice and honor it. And I can't do that if I'm getting pinged over here. The wife is talking to me about some trip. Something else is happening over here and the puppy got to go pee. Like there's just nothing that's going to let me focus on this content. So, yeah.
Well, the wife should talk to you about going pee, and then you take the dog on the trip, and then everybody else is all good. No, I enjoy that. All right. So, like in everything you've been doing so far, then you've made this career shift in 21. And so now coming up on maximum, 3 years, right? Like, what's the biggest challenge that you've had to get through aside from, the irregular paycheck? We'll put that aside. But like process-wise, intention-wise, what's the biggest process or hang up that you had to get through?
Unlearning bad behaviors that you catch in corporate. Like when we were in a tech startup, the rules were you got an email, you responded to it within the hour.
What? You had a rule about that?
That's insane.
Yeah.
Within the hour, you acknowledge it. If you didn't have an answer for it, you acknowledged it to the client so that they knew that you received it. And things like that have to be unlearned.
Yeah.
The number of meetings I would have a day to equate to productivity. Those things don't equal productivity at all.
No.
It's just I'm talking to you and I just took in a lot of information. And now what am I going to do with it? Because I got to jump into another call, right? Definitions of success. Yeah. How do I define success for myself? Because in my work, it was project to project. We produced a webinar. We did all the things. It went great. Woohoo! On to the next one.
What?
But in this work, it doesn't like that. It takes a year to close a deal. How do you keep yourself motivated to keep the follow-up, to keep focusing on what does success mean for me today?
Oh, I like that. Right now, this hour.
Right. This hour.
Yeah.
This hour. I was talking to somebody recently, a friend. It's going to feel off subject, but I promise you it's on subject. Okay. So we were talking about weight loss. Okay. And he was like, man, back in the day, I could do this. I dropped 50 pounds and I was eating like this. And I said, that was 20 years ago, like you got 2 kids today and a wife. You can't eat like that. First off, you ain't got that much money for groceries, right? The kids gonna eat chicken nuggets and fries. You cannot eat that. Your wife probably want to eat something different. And the diet you was on, that's expensive. So like, what are you doing today?
Yeah.
So for me, that's how I've had to really look at my work and redefine what success means for me in this moment. Not what I used to do 10 years ago. My life was much different then. Yeah. What can I do today and in this season of my life? And what does success look for me? And what can I do? And what do I have the capacity to do? Because my body moves different or doesn't move at all. Okay. And
body sits different.
And I want to spend time with my mother who has dementia, right? And I want to take in that time with her and savor it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like life is different. And so sitting in that, that's probably outside of the paycheck and the money challenge of figuring that part out. That's probably been the next challenge is figuring out how I want to work in my business and how I define success.
I love that you said that, Anna, because the work that I do professionally is helping people do just that. Like, we change we hold ourselves to these standards that are so unrealistic of past versions of ourselves or what other people expect from us or want from us, and learning, getting those resources and those tools to check in with yourself. What does success look like for me today? And it's okay if it's different than it was yesterday, and it might be different tomorrow, and assessing what your priorities are and how your needs shift. And I feel like that's consistent work. We think that, well, we've done that. Oh no, we've done that. And we don't then nurture those skills, and then it blows up in our face again.
100%. 100%. Yeah. In 2018, I ran a marathon. Exactly. All 26.2 miles of it, right?
Wow.
I did that. But at that time, I had a job. Okay? I had a job that I could do in my sleep. I had time.
And you could leave. You turned it off and you went home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had set boundaries with that job at that point in my life, right? I could take a 3-hour Saturday and run 10 miles, That was no problem. The amount of time it takes to train for something like that. Do I want to do another one? I do. But I also know what it's going to take for me to do that. And I'm not there. I'm not in no space to train for a full marathon
what if you develop
another triathlon.
What if you develop some VR goggles with some power glove things going on so you can type and work while you're training? You know what?
We don't need to multitask that much, though. I think it's okay to give ourselves permission to focus on one thing at a time, sort of.
I got to unlearn that.
And it's very sad because I've also lost the charger to my Oculus. Otherwise, I'm with you.
Somebody send Anna a new Oculus charger.
That would be amazing.
Just running down the street with the Oculus on.
You know what I mean? Right. That Oculus, it got me through COVID.
I've only used a VR Oculus once. A couple of years ago, my daughter wanted to go to a VR cafe for her birthday, and I'd never done it before. And I jumped off of a roof, and I literally pushed her to the ground. I was like, "Save me!" She was like, "You pushed me." I was like, "I didn't mean to."
I had a friend once that we had a VR set early days, and there was something where you were like took an elevator up to the top of a skyscraper, and you had to walk from one end of the building to the other, like on top of a board or something.
That's the one I was on.
Yeah. And then,
I pulled her over the side with me. She stopped.
And the person running the gear for us had a little fan that he didn't tell us he had. So like the girl we were watching, I got video of this. Like she had a little wind blowing in her face, and she was like screaming and inching her way on this little like 2x6 plank that was just on the middle of the studio floor. Like it was an 1.5 inch drop.
There's
to
no
the
plank.
floor.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's not real.
No, there was a real piece of wood they had there that literally, it's a 2x6, so it's an 1.5 inch from the floor.
Oh, that's so funny.
And she was freaking out. It was the funniest thing. So yes, I think you should do podcasting while doing that. That's
we
the
get
takeaway.
Easily distracted around here, Anna.
That's the takeaway.
Noted.
Listen, I know this is going to sound off topic, and I promise you it is.
I love that. And I thank you for it, okay?
Because one of the reasons I love this is we always have a good time, and you never really know where it's going to go.
All right, feedback from your podcasts, from the Qube, from everything you're diving into and winning awards of all this stuff around telling queer stories, focusing on podcasts and things, news about people of color, right? So where and why did that come from to focus specifically on that? Because when you're doing a niche within a niche within a niche, that can either, that's either makes it easier or harder. So that's a gamble. That's a big creative gamble.
So in the beginning, it was something I didn't want to do.
Oh,
so in November 2009, if anybody can Google and find it, the original E3 radio logo was purple and white. There was no rainbow. And I actually had a meeting with a friend in the community who did PR. And she's like, Anna, the community needs a queer radio station. You should just have a queer radio station. And I was like, no. I don't want a queer radio station. I care about Black people. I care about women's issues. Like, I don't want to just talk about queer stuff. She was like, but I think you can really win with this. And it was so funny because we talked about this. We ran into each other a year or so ago. I see her a little more frequently now at different things. But about a year ago, I brought that up to her. She's like, oh, I remember. I remember that meeting very well. And it wasn't until after I started doing the show for a little bit and I realized that everybody I was having on was queer. Now, but they were also at these other intersections. And it was at that point that I put the rainbow inside of the tower. And it is the logo that people know of today. But it's not something I wanted to do. Because when you start talking about LGBTQ stuff, that's all people hear.
Yeah.
And I live at the intersections. At any given day, there's something happening to Black folks in the news, there's something happening to queer folks in the news, there's something happening to women in the news every single day. And I wanted to tell those stories. And so I'm showing up as who I am. And that inherently brings along all of my other identities that make me who I am. So it wasn't something I wanted to do in the beginning, but 40-year-old Anna is much more comfortable in her skin and has the language needed to be able to navigate these spaces and these conversations in such a way that I'm comfortable with it. And it's just natural for me to bring all of it along for the ride because for so long it was compartmentalized. I had to be Black over here. I could be queer over here. This is the one for the women's issues. They don't want you to talk about all the other ones in all the other places. Okay. This space is for this, but I'm all of it. Yeah. And so I just bring all of me to the podcast and that's how it sort of happens.
Wow. And so many other people too are all of it.
Well, that's what I was
And they got to see it.
And they can be
or hear it in this case. Yeah.
And I think everybody wants to be seen and heard, right? And I think that's what's happening right now. In some of the worst possible ways. I just, I did a video the other day on TikTok because I just saw this story and I was just like, what is happening here? Like psychologically, what is happening here? The story was, there's a headline, NBC News, NBC Out reported this bar in Idaho is having heterosexual awesomeness month.
Huh?
Okay.
Free beers. If you're a straight, what does it say? Straight white man or just a straight man?
Straight hetero.
A hetero
but are you
man
born
gets
straight?
Free beers, but straight women don't. They just get discounts. Let's unpack that. Like,
wait. Excuse me?
Yeah.
And if you're a hetero couple though, you can get 15% off on Wednesdays.
my brain.
Go to Anna's TikTok.
The springs are popping out of my ears right now.
But see, at the end of the day, they just want to be seen. They want to be seen and they want to be heard. And I think that is at the heart of everybody's story. Yeah. Now, there's this feel with a lot of hate and ignorance, but they feel like no one is seeing and hearing them. When in fact,
everyone is.
Every bar I walk in is white and hetero every day of the week. But for them, right, they just don't feel seen. And I think even with all of how misguided and ignorant that is, I think it's still very true.
Yeah.
And so I can only do what I can do, which is show up as my full self because I just choose to do anything else anymore.
Thank goodness you do. We have one final question to ask, but before I just need to bring attention to this because I want everybody to go and find this TikTok video and I have to know what drove you to do this, how many takes you had to take, and what the response has been. So Annie did a very, and I'm going to use the word straight, but I don't mean that kind of straight, a very straight reading of the lyrics to Billie Eilish's Lunch. Now, if y'all have not heard the song, you should listen to it. You've got to go find, I'm going to go find the video and link it in the show notes. Tell me about like the moment where you were like, I'm just going to read these lines. Like, I need to know how this came to be because I was dying watching.
Oh my God, I am reading them now.
You know, how did I come up with doing that?
It was amazing.
It was so.
I think this is even too much for this podcast.
I'm telling you, like, it is just, when you read it, I don't even know how. Okay, full transparency, I do not listen to Billie Eilish. I do appreciate who Billie Eilish is in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And so I report on Billie Eilish. And the song came up as a story because it was making waves.
Because she said, I just woke up one day and realized I wanted my face in a vagina. So,
yes, that.
My God, been there, done that.
Same.
You know, we all have something in common here. Okay? And it came up, and then I started, the story had the lyrics in it, and I was like, oh, this is hot. Oh, this is, oh. And then I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm going to do this. She was like, oh, God, you're so silly. And I was like, I am reading these lyrics out loud. People need to know what she's saying.
It had to be
it's
so
good.
hard to read that. So
it was a little hard. I think, honestly, Heather, I think I did it maybe twice. Maybe.
That's impressive.
It was. It was so funny. I got a lot of joy out of that. And I think I'm going to do more of it because it was so much fun to do. I just love
girl
it.
for lunch. It was such a straight delivery. It was amazing.
Oh.
And then I was holding a book. I wanted to put it in a book. I had printed it out and I had it on different pages, so it looked like I was reading a book. I think it was. I think I was using Whitney Houston's. Oh, I was using Robin Crawford's book, where she talks about her and Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
A Song for You. So I intentionally had it in that book too, because it's such a lesbian story.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, one more quick break. Hang on a second. All right, here's the rest of the episode. Well, let's kick off our final question then, which is just very generally, what is your relationship with failure?
Oh, I've come very acquainted with it. And it's a word that I didn't own for a really long time. I would say I don't believe in failure. There's some truth to that, but I embrace failure now. Failure is a part of the process. You can't have success without failure. Yeah. You don't know what your success really feels like until you have failed. And I believe part of that in embracing that word comes from the startup life because of how failure is embraced. It is seen as like a rite of passage in so many ways. And looking at it from that perspective gave me a completely different view of that word and an appreciation for the word and not being ashamed about the failures because they have directly informed how I have pivoted to what brings me joy. Because you often are failing at things that don't bring you any joy.
Right.
They're not bringing you anything in your life.
So no loss.
No loss.
Yeah.
They were meant to die.
Yeah.
So something else could live, be born, and actually bring you the joy and the success that you're actually looking for. So I have a wonderful relationship with failure these days.
I love that.
I would love to talk about failure all day long, but people like to talk about the good things. But I find that there's a lot of...
There are a lot of good things. I mean, I am recently, we can all celebrate, a board accredited and certified NLP practitioner. And one of the first things that we learn is that literally, mentally, neurologically, there is no failure, only feedback. Literally everything is feedback. What are you going to do with it?
Well, it's how you contextualize it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you let it bring you down? Me personally, yeah, just for a minute, but then I got to bounce back.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I give myself 48 hours.
Really? I try to do. I usually do 24, 48. If something's really personal, and I try not to take it personally, but it's like if it's all me, then I'm like, I didn't work again. But then as soon as I get over that, and then I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So here's all the things I'm going to do differently next time.
Yeah.
And you just keep going. You try again. If you really want to do it.
That's what you got to do. And that's this leads me to another idea. I don't know if this fits.
It's okay if it's off topic.
In the pivoting of things, right? Because when something doesn't work, you pivot. And there's been so many things that have just not worked, or I've had an idea, and I don't know about creatives who are listening, and you all too. You just constantly have these ideas. Always. They just keep running, and it's like a new relationship. You're real excited. You just want to go do it and make it come to life. But then you don't think about like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
And so today, because of the failures, I sit with an idea. If there's something that inspires me, I'm like, oh, that was good. And then I just sit on it. I don't move in that moment. I allow it to do what it's going to do because it's going to be the perfect time for me to do that thing. It's going to be the perfect person that comes into my life to make that thing a reality, to make it come to life. And sometimes I just need to sit. And I know that has only happened because of the failures that I've experienced.
I really love that. Like, don't go right into action mode. I find that is almost a self-sabotage approach, that I got to build a new thing. Like, we don't trust that what we're already working on has what it takes to thrive. If we don't get those instant, immediate results that we expect now in the world, I got to do something else. I got to do something else. I'm actually in this space right now. Like, I have got to just be with what I have now, what my services are now, what my skills are now, my certificate. Like, fuck, I do not need another certification, for real. And grow it and not be so impatient. And I love that you're like, I'm going to sit with it. And when the right moment comes, I'm going to have it. It's going to be ready. And I'm going to be like, here's my idea. I love that.
I did it recently. With this series called None of My Queer Business. I had that idea a really long time ago to do as like a series. And I've only done like 2 videos on it. But when I find the content that fits for None of My Queer Business, it works so well. And it brings me so much joy. And it makes creating content so much more fun for me. And it works, right? And so it's like, that was a fun idea. But I tell my wife, I call my wife Boo Boo. I'm like, well, I did it. And she's like, oh, good. I'm glad you got that. Because I talked to her about it. And she's like, oh, you gonna ever do that? It's like, I will eventually. And None of My Queer Business is one of those things that I sat on for a very long time. I was like, that'd be a really fun piece of content to do. Because everything I talk about is queer, right? But there's other times I want to talk about other things. And I'd be like, I know this ain't none of my queer business. But
I think I've seen one of those videos. I love that. But that kind of makes me think of this show, Alan. Like, I sat on this idea for a long time until we met by chance and embraced opportunity. And I was like, so I kind of have this idea. And he just turned to me and said, well, let's do it. And I was like, wait, you want to do that with me? He's like, yeah. And okay. So here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
I also think nothing has to last forever. Like, my dad, I grew up in a house where everybody did everything forever. You do one thing, you do it forever. But you don't have to do it forever.
No, not at all.
There's a season for this.
Especially if you're
There's a season for this.
If you're learning and pivoting,
Yeah,
you
there's a
can
season
do
for
the
it.
same thing as long as you're evolving and changing, and don't try to pigeonhole your skill set into something if the world around you is changing.
That's it.
That's right. Because then you lose out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, Anna, this has been so great. Can you tell folks? I mean, we're going to put it in the show notes because the list of how to find Anna in all the places is exhaustive. But just quickly, like, if they want to get a little, I was going to use the word taste. I just did use the word taste, but then I went back to Billie Eilish. I had a little sampling of Anna. Where should they go?
There's so many places I want to go with that, but we're going to keep this PG. You can go to AnnaDeShawn.com to get a little taste of who I am. You can follow me at Anna DeShawn across all social media. And then start with me, and you can find all the other brands, Ether Radio, the Qube. Like wherever you go, you will find me there.
Yeah. And I can hear it right now, and I couldn't begin to do it justice, but when you're scrolling through TikTok and you hear family, it's your favorite queer news podcaster. What do you say? Podcaster.
Well, yeah, I'm your favorite queer radio personality.
Queer radio personality. And I'm like, oh, Anna has news. I always stop. You do a great job. So when you're scrolling through, that's
Thank
Anna. You want to stop. You want to listen to her. I just think you are amazing. And I'm grateful to have you in my life. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Heather.
So nice to meet you.
Yes, it's so nice to meet you too, Alan, and your littles too.
That's right.
We got a tiny
we
little
went to the bus
view
stop together
of the
during this
boys.
interview and picked them up.
Because that's what it means to not get a regular paycheck.
That's
part.
right.
We get to do things like that in the middle of the work.
Exactly. You make it work. I love it. Thanks, Anna.
Thanks, y'all.
Your friends are awesome.
I know. I know. Anna's special, though. Like, all my friends are awesome. There's just something magnetic about Anna. And she makes you feel like you are the most important person in the room when she's talking to you. And she has the ability to do that even from the other end of a TikTok screen, even with a news story. Like she's talking right to you, and you're really important, and she needs you to hear it.
She makes you feel like a natural woman.
No. Don't do that. Let's just let Anna do the readings of the lyrics.
Okay.
Nope.
No, she's incredible. I love like the talk about discipline, right? And that's something that still I struggle with because now, like the kids just got home and I want to go down and play with them. And I also have 3 edits I got to do, including this one, and prep for the whatever I'm doing tomorrow. And just like taking time to disconnect, make some me time. Like we all need to learn from Anna in that regard. And
you got to do it because if you don't do it, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, if you don't do it, it doesn't happen, and then you get burnt out, and you're less productive all over the place.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. I want to pick her brain some more about the production side. Podcasting as a service. There's so many things that I want to try in that avenue.
Yeah,
and growing outside of your echo chamber. That is one of the hardest things you can do, and she's hustling, man.
I had a feeling there might be some future collaborative opportunities.
Yeah.
Between you two.
Yeah, Anna, when you're listening back, we got to make sure we're talking. We got some stuff to happen.
Yeah, some really cool stuff. I love that. Folks, we appreciate it when you listen. We appreciate it when you like, follow, subscribe, comment, share. Alan, can you tell folks how they can do that?
Oh, yeah. On the internet, on social media.
Shocking. It's on the internet, you guys. That's how you do it. You could also just go out into the front of your street and scream, "Hey, are you guys listening to Was It Chance?
What the fuck is that? Shut up!"
On the internet.
On the internet. Yeah. Was It Chance podcast at gmail.com. Was It Chance is our username on Instagram and Threads, and wasitchance.com, our website. And then find us on the Broadway Podcast Network, bpn.fm/wasitchance.
Was It Chance?
Was It Chance? Was It Chance?
All of which are housed.
Was It Chance?
Thanks for being here with us, folks. You have been listening to Was It Chance, the podcast about embracing opportunity and taking intentional risk for your creative life. I'm Heather Vickery.
I'm Alan Seals.
We'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.